Hello and welcome. I put 41.5 hours into SD Gundam Battle Alliance, and I have a lot of thoughts on it, but I'm going to break this down into gameplay, the pros and cons there, and then the second half will be spoilers with the story. So this first half is completely non-spoilers, but I will be talking about gameplay mechanics, and unfortunately, some failings that I think the game has when it comes to them. Man, I love this game. I've put so much time into just playing around with the suits, and there's not one of them that I don't like, really. I have my favorites. I've spent most of my time playing with the Burning Gundam, with the F91, and the Freedom. But again, there's not really a suit I don't like here. And when you unlock a new suit, it's immediately exciting as, hey, now I have a new suit that I get to play with. I'm going to go try it out in the training mode. I'm going to see what I think about it and decide if I want to spend my capital on it or not, which is where we get to one of the cons. I think the capital system is extremely punishing in the early game, where, hey, it doesn't take that much capital to get a unit to level 5, right? It really doesn't. But it takes a lot of capital to get units up to the level of your current suit on the regular. So I spent most of the game with the Freedom, and then after I found a good way to farm capital, I started using the F91. And after I'd gotten the F91 all the way up to 50, then I started bringing the Burning Gundam to 50. And I got the Freedom to 32, the F91 to 50, and the Burning to 50 by the time I finished the main story. I only had 2 suits fully leveled up, and I got the Burning Gundam there right at the end so that I could use it on the last couple levels, beating them on normal. I'm not going to say this is a huge flaw, because I do think if you're somebody that loves playing these games, you're going to keep collecting blueprints. You're going to keep leveling up suits anyway. But I do think it takes too long to get the capital that you need. And my other big disappointment with that is there's not many grunt suits in the game. And when I say not many, I mean there's only technically 5, I suppose. If you count the Camphor as a grunt suit, then there's 6. It just... I really was excited for a bunch of grunt suits to be able to play around with, and they're in the game as enemies. But based on the demo, I was really excited to get to actually play them myself, you know? However, the Gundam selection is really good. There's a whole bunch of them from all across the series, and they all have their little intricacies in the way they play. I do wish some of them played a little bit more differently than others, but I think that on the whole, each suit does feel unique enough that you're still going to enjoy playing with them. And especially if you're a fan of a particular suit, then you're going to have a suit that you really enjoy playing with that will hopefully, make it through the entire game for you. Once you unlock hard mode, you get a lot more capital. I was able to, using hard mode, I was able to go back and bring a suit all the way up to level 30 for only completing 3 hard mode levels, which is pretty crazy. However, you will need to get the suits up to 50 to be able to use them in hard mode. And some of those hard mode maps are really tough. The level cap goes pretty high up, all the way up to, I believe, 90, though I haven't yet reached that point myself. I think that the actual leveling of the suits, although it could be easier, does feel really satisfying. The suits wind up feeling quite a bit more powerful than they did before. And once you out-level a stage, you can kind of just bully everything in that stage. When it comes to the basic core mechanics of gameplay, I think it's really solid. I think infighters could have a little bit more on their combo string, just a little more, to make them feel more separate from all-rounders. But I do think infighters still have some really cool stuff going on. And I guess I should specify for anybody that hasn't played it, there are 3 divisions that Gundams and mobile suits fall into, which are infighter, all-rounder, and sharpshooter. Something like the Burning Gundam, being an infighter, makes a lot of sense. You're able to get in there, do a lot of damage, and hit them really hard. But then there are other ones that I think make less sense, like the Destiny being an all-rounder. That feels like it probably should have been an infighter. But either way, infighters have the balance and the bonus of being able to have extra hyper armor, especially once their roll action's on. All-rounders can do pretty good melee and pretty good ranged, and then sharpshooter, of course, have more focus on range. Their roll action allows them to reload their ammo, which is great and really can save your bacon in some of the tougher fights in this game. Now, when it comes to fighting regular enemies and regular bosses, I think this game excels. I think it is great when you're fighting regular enemies and regular bosses. You're doing quite a bit of damage to them. They're doing quite a bit of damage to you. Good guards, perfect guards, and especially counters can really turn things around and feel really satisfying to do. However, when you're fighting the mobile armors, I think the game becomes kind of a slog then. Especially when the mobile armor has an eye field or a beam coating, and especially if it's the hash maul. You really can't, if you're playing a sharpshooter, there's really not much you can do there. And even on an infighter, you're going to be getting in there and doing quite a bit of damage, but you're also going to be taking a lot of damage in the process. And this game utilizes a med kit system, or repair kits as they call it, where you only have a certain number of repair kits, and you have a different number based on the Gundam that you take, which feels really strange to me. But stuff like the F91 has 5, whereas the Burning only has 3. You have skills that can make those increase more healing for you, or to heal your partners as well, which we'll get into partner AI in a minute. On the whole, you're probably not going to have enough medkits to go around when you're playing on normal or hard, as compared to when you're playing on easy, and you could probably scrape by. The difference between easy and hard is you get less parts on easy than you do on hard, but you still get just as much capital. So if you're struggling on a level, you can use easy mode to be able to grind up some more capital without just slamming your head against the wall over and over again trying to beat that level. Now, for me, I personally enjoy the gameplay of sharpshooters a little bit more, but infighters and all-rounders are still really fun to use, and I think everybody will have their own individual favorite choice. And then out of the roles, I think everybody will also have their own individual favorite suits. So I really do encourage you to play around with them, because you can play around with any of them for free in the tutorial zone. There is a tutorial level that lets you have free play where you can play around with the suits before you spend any capital to upgrade them and see if you'd like them. I do kind of wish you could actually fight against enemies. That way have like a field of enemies so you could see what's AoE and what's not really. But I do think that for the most part, it's a pretty good system. Little bit of flaws here and there. Like I said, I wish it took a little bit less capital to upgrade everything, because I'm sure it gets even more expensive past 50. But I've had a lot of fun playing around with these suits, and I think the core gameplay is really, really solid. Getting into the music, the remixes that they use in this game are really good. There is a really great remix of the final theme that plays in Aboaku that is incredible, and I love listening to it. And then some really nice, fast remixes of Unicorn songs. All in all, I think the music in this game is really, really great. And I wish that Gundam soundtracks were open source and I could play some of them for you. And I especially wish that they would go ahead, Bandai would go ahead and upload some of these soundtracks to Spotify, because the SD Gundam games always have incredible remixes of the core themes. And I do think some of the new songs are pretty good too. Some of the songs that are specific for this game, but some of those remixes just knock it out of the park. Let's talk level design, because I think the level design is a weird spot where this game really shines. Not weird as in I think the game doesn't shine in most places, but it's clear they spent a lot of time focusing on the level design. Slight level design spoiler, I guess, but in one of the Tekkadan levels, you can have a break-in of the original Gundam, and the factory itself from the first episode of OG Gundam breaks in as well, because the factory that's normally there now has a gun tank and a gun cannon in pieces there. And it's just little details like that are all over this game. They've spent so much time and effort to try and make these levels feel like the levels they come from. And I think that's something that a lot of people are just going to gloss over and not notice. But absolutely, if you decide to pick this game up, or if you're playing it right now, stop and take a look at the levels, because I think the work they've done there is incredible. Finally, for gameplay, let's talk partners, because this game is clearly meant to be played online with 3 people. The partner AI is pretty bad. You're gonna run with these most of the time, all the time if you're playing solo, and they will pick you up, they will do their specials when you tell them to. But there's always a delay when you tell them to, and sometimes they'll do it on regular enemies instead of the boss you're targeting, if there are regular enemies in your boss fight. They also miss quite often. I, for a long time, took Thierry Arde with me as a partner, because his blast, his special, is an AoE. He's really strong, he's got a good shield, he's fairly tanky, and, you know, just an all-around decent partner to take with me. However, he missed so much with his special that after I finally had his friendship all the way up, I just started taking Judo instead. Judo Asha is a much better partner in my experience. Now, granted, because the AI is roughly the same for all of them, you're probably going to run into situations where you had a certain partner that worked better for you for large chunks of the game, or that didn't work as well for large chunks of the game. And I'd love to hear some of your stories in the comment section down below. But the partner AI is decent. It does what it needs to do. It can take aggro off of you when you need to heal, though it doesn't like specifically choose to do so. You have to just back off and not fire for a little while to get the partners to take the aggro. However, again, they'll pick you up when you go down as long as they're not too low themselves. They're not perfect, and obviously another player would be infinitely better, but the real benefit to bringing the partners to me is the dialogue you get at the start of every mission. And this dialogue can be two characters referencing each other in a like, hey, that's a cool mobile suit you got there. Or it can be, slight spoilers here, I guess, for a character interaction. It can be stuff like Setsuna telling Camille to calm down because, hey, we gotta keep a level head here. We can't get too angry. Things like that, things like Marita Cruz and Judo Asha having a conversation really make the partner system special to me, and it made it where I played the entirety of this game offline, even though I can tell it would have been a lot easier if I'd played it online, because I wanted to see those interactions between all these different characters. Let's talk parts as well real quick. The skills that you can equip and the parts that you can equip do honestly make a pretty big difference. Things like Omnidirectional Guard being built into a part is great and allows you to block funnels and beams from behind you. Things like anti-beam barrier damage up on your sub-weapons means that you can take out eye fields way faster. But how do you get these parts? Well, it's kind of random. It's loot, right? You beat the level. If you beat it on easy, you get less parts with less special abilities. You beat it on normal, you get better parts with better abilities. And if you beat it on hard, you can get 5-star parts that have much better abilities. And later on, even better star parts. You pair these with the skills that you're able to equip as a pilot, which you get more of as you level up, and you can quickly make a situation where, as I did with my Burning Gundam, my special buff, my hyper mode, lasts longer, and I regenerate HP, and I can also heal my allies, and I'm able to get more capital that drops, or I'm able to, buff up my melee attacks to where you wind up being able to make your Burning Gundam different than anybody else's. And I think that's one of the cool ways of the system. However, parts are random, so you may have to grind for a little while to get some parts that are really good. I wouldn't super worry about it if you're just playing through first on easy, but I definitely would recommend you play through some on normal so you get some good parts. But by the time you're into hard, you really need some good parts to be able to get that extra damage. Just a heads up, this next section is full spoilers, so keep that in mind. Finally, let's talk story, and this is where the spoilers are going to come in. Because the story of this game is based around the commander and Yuno Astarte as they work their way through this weird directory system trying to get to the end. And I found the story really interesting. I don't think it's like the best story that I've ever seen in a Gundam game, right? However, having said that, I think all the characters are really likable. I think that one of the best parts of this game is seeing Yuno not want to accept the way that things are, being upset that people have to die, and being upset that things are not going the way she wants them to go. Hey, why can't we save that person? Why can't we step in here and make this better? Why do we have to just watch these people die? And seeing Sakura and then later on Hermes, you're like, yeah, there's nothing we can do about that. This is canon. This is how it has to go. And I do like these characters a lot. I think that the banter between Sakura and Yuno is really fun. And I think that Hermes is a really great character. The fact that he's a Chunibyo and he tries to draw you in and you as the commander have the choice to do it too. Wonderful. Amazing. I loved that. Getting to see Yuno just be like, oh, come on, commander. Don't play along with him is really great. But again, spoilers for this game. I think it all comes down to that moment where you're in the final IBO level and Yuno is like, but we can save him, right? What happened to this character? And Sakura's just like, and Hermes goes, no, we can't. It's just really, really solid. I think that being able to look at the entire Gundam franchise like this, all the stuff that's represented anyway, and getting Yuno's points on it, going, hey, well, that's not fair. It shouldn't be like that, is really solid, because as a viewer of these shows, you probably felt close to the same when it happened. And I think that's a really cool touch. I think it's a really nice thing. The story doesn't need to be too much for this game, because this game is about the gameplay, but I think the story is a nice touch and makes everything work. And the way that all the different characters interact with each other as you go through the levels, Master Asia trying to help Marina Cruz, and things like that are all really, really good. I love the way all that works out. All in all, I've really enjoyed SD Gundam Battle Alliance. Bounced off of it pretty hard at about the mid-game, where I was starting to really struggle to be able to level things up. But having reached the end, I think it absolutely is worth playing. I'm looking forward to playing a lot more, especially with the expansion pass content coming out. I want to be able to level my suits up more. I want to be able to play around with some of the ones that I never really touched. And I just had a blast. This is a really solid game. Not perfect. And I think the flaws kind of show pretty hard. But if you can stomach those, if you don't mind having to grind a little bit, and you really enjoy the world of Gundam and seeing Gundam characters interact, I think this game is absolutely for you. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and until next time, I've been Trey, this has been The Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that Gundam has to offer. Just a little postscript here, but I wanted to read off some of the trophy names because I think they are hilarious and wonderful. The Gundam isn't just for show. Who are you? This thing's on. Give me everything you've got. I'll use it for sure, so more, please. That's right, we can't let up yet. Look, the east is burning red. I'll give my body to everyone. Just tell me you need me. Offer your lives to me. Whoa! Such a storm of passions! I believe in God! What could be better than this? I'll give you power. Sentiment alone and power alone. Payback with interest. We must work together to survive. I am Gundam. I see it. A single drop of water. May the glory of victory be ours. Hey, what do I do next? Never stop. Gundam! Rise to the heavens! That won't stop me. Take pleasure in fighting on its own. Fights without regard for their life. I'm the luckiest pilot in space. Zero. Show me the way. And finally, thankies.